What does the training process look like before you get onto the show itself? Like, are you just working out like physical strength, or are you practicing puzzles, sitting down for an hour or two, like figuring out clues? Like, how does that training process
Yeah,
look like?
all that.
Okay.
Yeah, all that. Like we overemphasize the physicality part because we seen past seasons where there was a lot more physicality. I don't know if there was as much on this season, but we were training. We were pretty solid shape. Like we're like, okay, no one's gonna beat us in a physical challenge. We felt, we're like,
Gotcha.
but we started doing puzzles. Like I went to the Forks and bought a big puzzle, and we spent like 6 hours just doing a puzzle on my table. We like were doing navigation. We were watching old seasons and writing down all the challenges that they were doing, and like, okay, like, all right, Anwar, if we have to pick between us, who's doing this one? Who's doing this one? Like, who's better for these? Like, Anwar has a phenomenal memory. Like, he could remember anything. I didn't even know how good it was until the show.
Yeah.
And then, but he's also not a big fan of like heights. So I did all the heights challenges, like rappelling down buildings and like climbing up a pole and stuff like that. And then he was just killing it on like memory, and he was very athletic and stuff like that too. So that's how we train. It was like planning, mind, body, just being able to calm down under stressful situations. How are we going to interact with each other under adversity and stuff like that? And so that's stuff we learned during the show too, is like how to deal with pressure, how to deal with stress. Like this is high intensity. This is like playoffs. Like it's like 7-game playoff game sevens, and sometimes you don't sleep for more than 3 hours a night. Sometimes you wake up and you just go straight to racing, and keep in mind, like while you're racing, while you're doing these challenges, like people don't recognize fully, but you're getting asked questions as well, so all the times like we're talking, we're answering questions and stuff like that too. So yeah, it's a lot of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems just so fun.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. It just seems so much fun.
No, it was so much fun, and you're in a bubble for a month of racing. You're in a bubble. You're in your own world. Like you don't fully recognize like what's happening on the outside. It sounds like jail. On the outside. This is a good jail. This is a good jail. This is a good jail.
Yeah.
So it's funny because like I was I was always like, I wonder if some people are like not enjoying not like being in a bubble like this.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's normal. I was like, I'm like, I get food to my door. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was such an incredible experience. And then what was even another thing that I loved about the race was after the show ended and we were back at home, like we couldn't tell people for 6 weeks, which was, people were like, what have you been up to? And I just finished the amazing race. And we were not allowed to tell anyone for 6 weeks until they announced us. So I'd be going for walks because I just came back from traveling. People would be like, oh, like, what have you been up to? Where have you been lately? Like, you went MIA for a month. I'm like, meditating, and like I went on a retreat.
Good one.
I went on a retreat. Yeah, I was like,
Okay.
and so
nobody knew at all?
no, we couldn't tell anybody. Like we didn't tell anyone.
Not even your family?
Yeah, my family knew.
Okay, yeah.
They knew because they had to know.
had to.
Yeah.
Like, but no one knew like where we ended. Like we didn't tell anybody how well we did during the race.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even out of a place of like legally we can't. It was like I didn't want you to know. I wanted you to watch it, enjoy it. Like basketball's not fun when you know who won the game.
Yeah.
Right? So I wanted people to enjoy it, and yeah, like as you said earlier, we came in third place. Like we made it to the finals. We were really ecstatic at the opportunity to experience the entire race. Like we went to every single city. We did all the challenges. We got the full scope of it. Obviously, we'd have liked to win, but at the same time, like being on the show was already like a wow, right? And then making it to the finals was another wow. And looking back, I'm like so grateful to have that.
Was there a moment or story that wasn't captured on camera or didn't make it to the final cut that you and Anwar or yourselves you share with one another, or that you have?
They're probably. I also have to be careful.
Sure.
I can't talk about too much behind the scenes stuff about the show because it takes away from your experience as a viewer.
Of course.
But yeah, like some of the things we share is just how much fun we had. Like when we get on call, sometimes we're like, man, it's crazy that we did that. Hey, yeah. Like what a time. Like, like wow, that was our life for a month. It was just randomly like waking up in a new city, climbing up a building, and then memorizing 10 languages, and it's just wild. So.
Wow, a crazy journey, man. What all around Canada?
All around Canada. I think it was like. like 12,000 kilometers of traveling. You wake up, you have no idea where you're going next, right? Like sometimes you'd be up at 4 a.m., you go rip your clue, and it's like, make your way to Vancouver. You're like, okay. And then take a bus to Whistler. And then when you get there, go and bungee jump.
Yeah.
And then like it's just, you're doing all these random things that you either have never done before or you're just maybe not fully good at. And you have to learn it on the fly. And you're competing for $250,000 and you're competing with 9 other teams and there's camera crew and there's just this intensity that you only feel at a very high level of sports.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And during the time you're like, wow, like this is intense, but it makes you such a strong person too. Like you could handle a lot after that.
What was your mindset going through that whole entire challenge, right? Like, I know if I was there, I would be like, yo, this is crazy. First of all, be like very, very ecstatic that I was there. But there's also like, if you do something, like you're sleeping 3 hours a day, right? And then you're constantly on the go, like go, 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 go. Was there ever a moment where like, man, I don't like this. Like this is too crazy.
You know what? I think some people felt that way.
Yeah.
I do believe that. There was never a moment where I was like, I want to stop.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. I enjoyed it so much. It was like, it's back to like the being able to appreciate like the things that I have in life. And that's a lot of times like I reference back to where I came from to remind me of how good I have it or how good things are going. And yeah, there was never a point I'm like, no, I've wanted this. Like, I'm not going to sit here now and complain that it's too hard or I'm not sleeping enough or whatever. It's like, no, like, and I also recognize that, like stress is what makes you grow. I remember there was this video I watched a while ago. It was like talking about how, crabs end up, lobsters end up growing not because they just age. They grow because they start feeling the stress because they're growing into their shells that don't grow with their bodies. And then as a result, it breaks open and they recreate a shell. And it's the stress, it's the pressure that causes them to grow. And I know that a lot of times, like, if I'm at the gym, the stress, the pressure you feel from the heavy weight, that's going to make you grow. And so I'm always like open to it. I like that pressure. I enjoy the good stress because I know that I'm going to come out of there like 1% better. And if you keep doing that, you're going to be very successful and you're going to do as well as you can in life.
Would 12-year-old Ben have imagined where you would end up now?
No way at all. No way at all. 12-year-old Ben was standing at a bus stop in minus 25, hoping that one day he might have a car. Not even him having a car. One day his mom will have a car that he can just not have to stand at the bus stop. That was like for me like the peak.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting on a first class flight to Dubai or to Madrid, and you're like, wow, we got the
What would you tell your 12-year-old self if you could go back and you could tell him something? What would you say?
I would tell my 12-year-old self to believe anything is possible, to not like have a limit to what you think is possible, to truly believe that you can do anything you want. Because I have that belief right now, and it took hitting rock bottom for me to recognize that. But at 12 years old, I wasn't there. I was just, for me at that point, it was like a car, the bare minimum was like what I thought was the peak of life. And so I would tell to the 12-year-old Ben to dream big, to not let anybody tell you that you can't do what you want to do, and go for the top, go for everything.
What does it feel like to where you started, now you're here, and being able to, give your family, give yourself the life that you never thought that was possible? What does that feel like?
It feels rewarding.
Yeah.
It's because there's a lot of work behind the scenes, right? Like I don't talk about, like, the achievements are more visible and it's easier to talk about on a forum like this, whatever, but there was a lot of work, inner work, outer work. For me to, when I was at Maples, for example, like I took myself from a 50% GPA to like a 92% honor roll student. And that was because I study like 7 hours a day. Like this is in high school, right? People don't study 7 hours a day in high school. Before I got into jail, I didn't study at all. And then I would go home from like 3 p.m., 3:30, and I would study till like 10. I would just stop to eat because I was like, I'm not gonna go back to jail. I'm not gonna call my friends or hang. I actually can't leave my house, really, technically. You know, I don't have like social media or anything. Like I have nothing else to do. I'm not gonna watch TV. And I put in so much work to get me through high school. And then when I was in university, I took that same work ethic and I would study Friday nights and Saturday nights till like 2, 3 in the morning. Like I would intentionally go to the university at 6 p.m. on a Friday night without my phone and study until 3. That way, like no one could call me. I would not be told, like convinced to go out. And I put in the work, you know, the hot dog cart. Yeah, people would see me at the festival, but they didn't see me at 3 a.m. chopping onions in a dark room, right? When I was traveling for work, like, yeah, people would see like the rooftop bar, but there was also a lot of lonely nights in hotels where I was on my computer sending emails to customers at 1 in the morning. And, you know, there was a lot of that. And so, you know, the Amazing Race, like getting on the show is great, but like I also applied in 2016. You know, I also like it's like it's easy to see the success, but like the hard work that went into these things and the amount of energy that I've expended to make this a reality and to, you know, to help the people around me as well. When you're told, when someone reminds you like, hey man, you did great, or like, you know, you guys invited me here, for example, you know, it's a good feeling because it's like, hey, this person's somebody worth talking to. And so it's a rewarding feeling. It's like you're like, oh, all the things that I did, they actually meant something. They went here. So I would say rewarding is probably the right word.
But people will never see nor understand what you had to go through to get here. Everyone sees the success and, oh my God, that person's doing this. But if you were in my position, it's very hard to get to where you are. I listened to a recent podcast with like Jeff Bezos, and he was talking about how, listen, everyone wants to be the richest man in the world, like, you know, have this billion-dollar company. But he was like, I assure you, you not want to be in my position. This stuff is hard.
Yeah.
And it's a similar mindset. People will see the accolades, see the success, but this is a 10-year this is a 10-year success story overnight.
Exactly.
Like
this started when I was 17 in my jail cell with my 40S, you know, law course I was taking.
Yeah, exactly.
And they would shut the lights down at 10 p.m. And but there would be a little light just so they could still see. And I would be holding up this module up to the light so I can keep studying past 10 p.m. And I remember doing that like vividly, like I would do that all the time. And because I wanted to maximize my opportunities. And that started from those days at age 17 to now, where like, you know, I still grind, I still work hard. You know, yeah, it took some time traveling. And that was because I also recognized that there's phases in your life where certain things are better to do than others. Like while you're young and single, it's better to travel than when you have a family and kids, right?
Yeah.
So I recognize the phases of my life. But it started there. There's a lot of behind the scenes that, you know, like you guys preparing for this is going to be an hour, but you do a lot of work behind this that makes this a success.
Yeah.
Do you think that, you know, like everything that you've been through,